Hey beautiful babes, and welcome back to my channel. I am Lauren Quigley and I make epoxy-free tumblers. In this video today, I'm going to talk with you about what I have learned in my past 2 years being with the Crystalac company. I still can't believe that it has been 2 years. The time is just flying. If you want to know a little bit of my story, I started making epoxy-free tumblers in the beginning of 2020, right when the pandemic hit. I had to be able to work inside my home because I live in a small home with my kiddos. I have 4 kids now. At the time, I had just had my 3rd baby and now I have 4. And I was really sad and I thought that I wouldn't be able to make my tumblers anymore because I needed to be able to work inside of my home. So I made the switch to Crystalac products a little over 2 years ago now. This video is just a little late in the making because I have been so busy. My family and I were just on spring break and now we're back. And so I decided to make the video to celebrate my 2 years of using Crystalac products and being with the Crystalac company. So what have I learned in these past 2 years? A lot. I have learned a lot. I thought when I first started using epoxy that was a little bit difficult when I took on that brand new craft that I wanted to hone in on. And once I got that down and then I made the switch to Crystalac, it was a whole new world, a whole new learning process. So I had to completely relearn some things. So my first thing that I learned when switching from epoxy to Crystalac products is to trust the process. When they say wait those 4 hours of dry time, you really want to wait the 4 hours. You don't want to cut around that or anything because Brite Tone dries from the top down. So it will be dry to the touch in 1 hour, but don't put a coat on after an hour. Really wait those 4 hours because you'll just be setting yourself up for success if you do it that way. What could happen if you don't do that, if you put on another coat too soon, is that you could get this stuff called orange peel, and it literally looks just like an orange peel. And that still happens to me sometimes. So don't fret, but I will say just trust the process, do the thin coats, the proper dry time, and you'll be setting yourself up for success. Now, the second thing that I learned when switching from epoxy to Crystalac and over these past 2 years, and I'll just say in life in general, whenever you start a new adventure, is that failures, they will come. And there will be a lot of them. So the failures help us grow. Failures help us learn. They help us in anything in our lives. But when you're using Crystalac products and you want to start testing out new techniques, testing out new things, it is all about trial and error. You have to do your own trial and error if you want to use new products or new techniques with Brite Tone. Now, what I mean by trusting the process is really listen to the rules and directions when you first get started. And that goes for everything. Like what may work for one person may not necessarily work for another person. And that all depends on so many factors. What their temperature and humidity is like, how thick of a coat they're applying, what their environment is like, what type of glitter they're using, what other products are they using? Are they using Mod Podge? Are they using spray paint? Or solvent-based products. There are so many other factors. So what may work for one person may not work for the next. So when I first started, I did a bunch of trial and error. And I am still doing all of those trial and errors. And I love sharing those with you. I love sharing them in my creative community and letting the babes know, hey, this worked for me, this didn't work for me, but hey, if you want to try this with something else, go for it. Try it, see what works for you, because those failures, they will come. And I just want to offer up some advice for when those failures do come is do not get down on yourself and don't be hard on yourself, because I know that that's hard to not, you have a project that you've been working on, and when it doesn't go the way that you planned, it can be really disheartening and make you just feel like you're not good enough or you're not doing your best. But we learn from our failures, we learn from our mistakes, And instead of being down, I want you to switch that around and change that to gratitude and thank that failure, thank that mistake for making you grow and making you learn, because you know that you won't do that again. Now, the third thing that I've learned on this 2-year journey with the Crystalac company is that the longer you practice and the longer you make the tumblers, the better you will get and the easier it will be. I can kind of relate that to my sobriety, because the longer that I have gone being sober, the easier it is to now I don't even think about it. It's just who I am and a part of my life. So the same is like for tumblers. When I hear a lot of the times people say, oh my goodness, there's so many coats, or there's so many layers, and the dry time, the 4 hours, it takes days and days to make a tumbler. But really, when you first start, it does seem like a lot, but the more you're doing, especially if you're working on more than one at a time, the longer you go, the easier it gets. And then it's just like second nature. You're just whipping them out, switching out your turners every hour, and it's really not a big deal. So yeah, that's why I can relate that to my sobriety, because I remember when I first decided that I wasn't going to drink anymore, I was like, oh man, how am I going to do this? How am I going to get through and just, you know, and that's why it reminds me of switching and doing Crystalac tumblers, because in the beginning it seems so time consuming. Like, how am I going to do this? I have to put on a coat every 4 hours and I have to do so many coats. Well, the longer you go, the easier it gets, and then it just becomes second nature. It's literally practice makes perfect. And you'll never be 100% perfect. You're always going to have those little hiccups and mistakes, but the longer you do it and the more successful tumblers that you have under your belt, the more confident you'll be in yourself. So I really want to give you that confidence, that little boost to just keep going. And it doesn't matter if you're a tumbler maker or you're an artist or a maker, a crafter, whatever. In any creative adventure that you're doing, you're gonna have hiccups, you're gonna have mistakes, and you're gonna rise above, you're gonna get through it, and you're gonna create some beautiful pieces of functional art. I say this all of the time. You are creating beautiful pieces of functional art, okay? That is what you're doing. It is your therapy, it is your passion, it could be your creative outlet, but we're always gonna have those mistakes. So just rise above, get through it. I have learned so much in these past few years that I can put into many different facets of my life. But yeah, I thank you all for being on this Crystalac journey with me. And if you're catching this now, I will be doing a little giveaway with the Crystalac company for 2 gallons of Brite Tone, celebrating my 2 years of using Crystalac products. So be on the lookout for that. And I'll be posting that over in the Crystalac group. So if you're not over there, head on over to the Crystalac group and find my post so that you can get in on this amazing giveaway. So as always, thank you for being along on this ride with me, and make sure to like and subscribe, and let me know if you have any questions about Brite Tone or Crystalac products or anything in general, because I'm an open book and I am here for you, and I'm here to help set you up for success on your tumbler making and crafting journey.